David Heckerman, manager of Microsoft's eScience Research Group. Welcome to Tech at Work. I find the story quite fascinating, David, taking Microsoft's traditional spam filtering system and applying it to targeting HIV. How exactly does it work? And how did Microsoft realize that there were similarities between spam and this deadly virus?
Well, a key problem with HIV is that it mutates or changes its form, and it does so a whole lot. If you look at how much HIV changes when it infects a single person, it's about the same as the amount of change that we've seen in influenza across the entire history of influenza. So it's a dramatic amount of change that you see. And so what HIV can do is when it's attacked by our immune system, it can simply change its form a little bit and avoid the attack of the immune system and go on and survive. So the situation there is similar to what we see in spam filtering. There, spammers change or mutate their email messages to avoid recognition by our spam filters. So in both cases, we have essentially an adversarial situation. And in the case of email, when we were looking at this situation, we thought, well, how are we going to get around our opponent? How are we going to go after weaknesses of our opponent? And we thought a bit, and it became clear that what spammers are trying to do is get money from you. So we started going after the links that they put in their email to get a credit card number from you or whatever. So we started cataloging these links, and then we could use those links to look at future emails to see if they were likely to be spam or not. So now turning back to the HIV problem, we were thinking, well, what are the weaknesses of HIV? Is there an Achilles heel of HIV? And we think there is. And to illustrate that, let me hold up a molecule, a protein molecule of HIV, or at least a toy representation of that. Proteins are the biological engines of life. They basically consist of strings of amino acids. Each one of these balls here might be an amino acid. And they fold in some interesting way and perform some interesting function. So let's say this is an HIV molecule, and let's suppose the immune system attacks right here on this yellow ball. And so HIV mutates that ball. It changes to a different amino acid to avoid that attack, and it might change its structure just slightly. But the structure is still intact, and HIV lives on. But we think there are certain weak spots on HIV, certain amino acids, that when they're forced to mutate because the immune system attacks them, you get a dramatic change in the HIV function. So for example, if we attack over here, it might cause the amino acid to change its shape and function dramatically, and ideally then that would either weaken the virus or kill it. So what we're doing now is cataloging these sites, these weak spots on HIV, such that we can then build a vaccine to teach the immune system to attack precisely at these weak spots and therefore either weaken or kill the virus.
David, you are the original brains behind Microsoft's spam filter. Did you ever think the spam strategy could be applied to a world outside of cyberspace?
Initially, no. It was only after talking to some very good researchers in the HIV field where I began to see a link between what we had been doing in the spam space and what they were doing in the HIV space.
When it comes to the research associated with this project, how far has it progressed?
Well, we're making progress cataloging these weak spots on HIV. One of the key problems, one of the key remaining problems in HIV vaccine design is that each of us has a different immune system. Just like you have different blood types, type A, type B, type O, we have different immune system types. And in fact, there are there's hundreds of different types of immune systems. And each immune system attacks HIV at different spots. And so what we're doing is cataloging for each immune system type where the targeting happens, with the idea of eventually making essentially a cocktail vaccine that can direct many different immune systems to the weak spots on HIV.
Do you believe that the technology could ultimately lead medical science to find a vaccine?
We have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of cataloging work to do, finding these weak spots, and then we have to be able to make the immune systems respond to the vaccine. But we're making great progress, and I'm quite optimistic.
David Heckerman, manager of Microsoft's eScience Research Group, thank you very much for your time and wish you all the best for future research.